Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We're so glad that you are here this morning for our webinar. We are going to be discussing tribal colleges today. So we're very excited to hear this information. Just a few little housekeeping items very quickly as everyone's getting on. This is in webinar mode, so we cannot see or hear you, but feel free to use the chat box and or the Q&A at any time to communicate directly with our panelists or with either of us. So as everyone is kind of settling in and getting into the webinar, we have a short poll question here. So I'm going to ask that Chelsea launch that poll. And our question today is, how many accredited tribal colleges are in the United States? And you have a couple of options here, 21, 35, 52, and 16. All right. It looks like our answers are coming in. We're kind of split on 21 and 52, and 38% of you, 33 now, said that there were 16, and 33% of you said that there was 35 accredited tribal colleges in the United States. So the answer to that is there are 35 accredited tribal colleges in the United States. So we are very, very excited to hear more about that in just a moment. So we kind of wanted to get that set up there as we begin this morning. So thank y'all for participating. All right. So again, welcome to the webinar. I am Shannon Grimsley, the Assistant Director of External Training and Partnerships for the Woodward Hines Education Foundation and the Get to College program. We are recording today's session, and today's date, if you are watching, is December the 2nd, 2025. And the material in this webinar is current through the 25-26 school year. In today's session, Tribal Colleges, you will hear about all the options for our students who might be interested in exploring tribal colleges, and also some of the supports that our local colleges here have for our tribal students. I will now share a little background on Get to College and a few logistics about the webinar before we get started. Get to College is a nonprofit program of the Woodward Hines Education Foundation. We have 4 centers in Mississippi, one in Jackson, Ocean Springs, and South Haven are our 3 physical centers. And if you've kind of been keeping up with our social media, we just recently launched our new mobile center, which will be a Get to College center on wheels that will be traveling throughout Mississippi, mainly in the Mississippi Delta. And that mobile center can perform all of the functions of our physical centers in Jackson, Ocean Springs, and South Haven. It just comes to the students where they are. So we're very excited about that 4th center. In our centers, even including our mobile center, we help parents, students, and high school counselors and other educators with all aspects of college planning and financial aid, and all of our services are completely free. In these centers, we offer personalized college counseling appointments where we can help students know when to apply for admission and scholarships, help them fill out their FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and we can also help them on other things such as advise on essay writing and interview skills. As we mentioned earlier during the webinar, we cannot see or hear you, but we ask that you ask any questions through instant messenger or chat or Q&A at any time. My colleague Chelsea Williams will be monitoring and replying to the Q&A today, and we will have a time for live Q&A with the presenters at the end, but do feel free to message us your questions at any time. I would now like to introduce our guest speaker for the day. Our guest speaker today is Autumn McMillan. Autumn is the Native American liaison and recruiter for East Central Community College. In her role, she supports Native American students, strengthens partnerships with tribal communities, provides guidance to prospective students, and collaborates with tribal partners to expand opportunities for higher education. Autumn is dedicated to ensuring that Native students feel welcome, represented, and supported throughout their journey at ECCC. Welcome, Autumn. We are very honored and pleased to have you with us today. And we are now going to turn the presentation over to you. Hey, Autumn, you're muted. Yeah,
I am so sorry.
there you
Okay,
go.
let's try this one more time. Hello, everyone. As she said, I'm Autumn McMillan. I'm actually a member of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw Indians. It's a local tribe next to my college. We're about 30 minutes out, but it's just something I'm so grateful for, the partnership between my tribe along with East Central to create a position such as this, because it's a really valuable resource for all of our tribal members and other Native American students that are looking to get into the post-secondary field. So I'm very excited to discuss everything about tribal colleges and universities. First off, I'll probably just kind of give a brief history of TCUs and what their purposes are for. With example, East Central is a public institution. So we typically, take everybody when they come in. The diversity is big here. There's a good range of so many ethnics and backgrounds that come. But with the history of TCUs, there's so many public institutions out there that it could be, there's a term that a lot of our reservation kids kind of use, and it's called culture shock. So what culture shock is that these kids, most of them from their grandparents to their parents to them, they probably never stepped foot outside of the reservation. They probably just went to the local high school, kind of like what I did. And basically what they do is that they just go there, they work there, and then that is it. Some never left the reservation, then you got some that like to go and explore their options. So with PCUs, their main purpose was to create a culturally grounded education place that aligns with the values, the history, and the needs of Native communities. Their purpose includes improving access to higher education for the Native students. They support community development, and some do a fostering of self-determination through tribally controlled learning environments. So their basic value is we want these kids to feel seen. We want to make sure that they know that they are just not another number in a statistic bar graph or anything like that. They really do try to hone up like, hey, we see you. We want to make sure you get the education that you are needing, but also allowing you to stay culturally grounded to who you are as a person. Because of course, with the histories of like boarding schools that have happened, people were taken away from their reservations, put into these boarding schools, and it was more than likely to strip them of their native identity. So they will go there, they would definitely change out of their clothes, they will cut their hair. And if you can kind of see, there is a big stigmatization, I guess, within Native communities that we do love our hair. Our hair is connects us to within our cultural ground of Mother Earth. So there's a lot of ceremonial values that come within who we are. And some cultures are similar to mine. Some of them have different meanings, but there are good similarities within each other. So with the boarding schools, that's where they kind of stripped all of that. They would cut hair, they would take them out of their traditional clothing, put them in something else, and then they would not let them speak their language. So that's one thing, to assimilate them into modern civilization. And with these TCUs, they are trying to slowly take that back to where, hey, we're giving this space, a safe space to our tribal students, so that way they can go and they can practice their ceremonial rituals, or they can speak their language without feeling, hey, this is bad, because that's all what their grandparents, great grandparents, parents kind of told them about, like, hey, this is what happened in our history. So with the TCUs, they're really trying to change that and trying to show like it's okay to still be grounded within your culture, but you can also receive higher education as well. So there's always a quote that I always tell my students here, along with being the Native American liaison. I'm also their advisor for our tribal students here. And I always tell them it is a little difficult because we do walk into separate worlds. We walk into, okay, when we're here, we're learning grammar. And to give an example, my language, we do the Cheta and Nopa, that's Choctaw language. And what it is we are completely backwards from the English language. So we have to, in English, you have your noun, you have your verb, you may have your adjective, and so forth. But with our language, we're completely backwards. So I do have a good couple of students that are fluent speakers. So that's where I help kind of with that, being a mediator if they're needing something, or if they don't know much English, or I may have an elder that's coming back because they're so much more comfortable now that they see someone in a position such as mine. So they're like, okay, now I want to come back, because they tried before and they, I've heard so many stories, and I can't wait to share those with you. But that's just another, boundary that was a little difficult even during my time coming through East Central. I graduated in 2018 from here, and I kind of see what they were talking about, especially when it came to Native American students. Like, yes, universities do have diversity centers. Some community colleges may have a diversity student organization, but to have someone that comes to from the same background as you is kind of gives you that little sliver of hope, like, okay, they understand how I'm feeling because they went through that. So with the history and the purpose of our TCUs is to give these kids, hey, we know, we see you, but we want to make sure we can help you navigate your college journey. But more than likely, it's a big cultural preservation. They want to make sure the students continue to preserve their culture and their people of who they are. Like I said, some of them have ceremonial values that they go through. Some of them have their language. Some of these students probably lost their language and are trying to come back and learn it, which is something that we also face here within my tribe. But again, it's to integrate all the cultural teachings and across like different academic programs. They want to support all of their communities, their Native communities, and reinforce that Native identity and to strengthen their tribe's cultural continuity and ensure like the younger generations, like they know to remain connected with their heritage and their culture. So a big thing is cultural preservation as well with tribal colleges and universities. All right. The next thing is more like indigenous knowledge systems, like for the different institutions that incorporate Native Americans within their curriculum. Sometimes you'll see like it'll be a very short version of it in their curriculum. Or you can kind of see within certain classes, they'll wait for example, Native American Heritage Month is in November. So when we're going through like a history course and we're going through all of these timelines and everything, then we'll have that one little small section of Native American history, and they'll kind of tell you, but some professors from my experience wouldn't go deep dive into it. They're like, oh, this is what happened, this is where it is, and then boom, okay, back to the next thing. So I think it's just more including indigenous knowledge within their curriculum, like, hey, this is a lot more that's happened. It's just not a small piece, it's a bigger piece. And sometimes, I had to do an essay within our early US history course I took at Mississippi State. And my whole essay was just strictly on like, well, this is what I've learned. This is what's been passed down. Because storytelling is a big part of my culture as well. So just trying to go and kind of give my argument in some sort of way, tell them like this is what my elders have told me. This is all what's been passed down. So there's a lot more behind the scenes that our history books don't really discuss about it. So sometimes we want to make sure like, hey, even if you don't teach it that much, that is okay. We just want to make sure at least you kind of bring that awareness like, hey, it is not in the history books. You can go and look in yours, whether it's the school that you're at and see it. There's a lot of sections of Native American history. And right now within East Central, they're trying their absolute best to include more within the curriculum. Like we do have a course here, it's called Native American History. So again, that's somewhere we're trying to make sure our tribal students that come here feel seen, like, hey, we understand what's happening and we want to make sure you guys are represented in some way. So I think this is our third semester doing it, and all the tribal students, they all run towards that course. I'm like, hey, you need this course. This is what's offered, and I'll give them the whole list. I'll give them the whole list of like, you got Western civilization or American history. You'll have Native American history, and they're like, I want that one. So you can kind of see where they're drawn to. If it's something that represents them or that they know will be similar, then they'll go instantly to it. And I've always had a running joke on my campus, especially with my coworkers. Within my tribe, we have a we have two programs that we are very grateful for. One is the Tribal Scholarship Program. Now, this program is coming from our tribal revenue and everything like that. So it helps our tribal students, our tribal members, to get funded for their college education. So they'll come, they don't have to worry about tuition, worry about books. It literally pays for everything. And it's a great resource and a privilege to have. Then we also have one that goes through the career and technical education. So if they want to go more on the CTE field, then they can go through this program, but that's federal based. So that's also a little bit more of a stricter criteria. But again, it kind of helps pay for their education when they go through. And I always say with this joke, I'm like, you can have so many kids, 100 kids that are in these programs that come to our college, that get their education. And for some way, Choctaws will find Choctaws. They travel in packs, and I've always see it. I've always tried to tell them, especially when I go recruit to my local high school. It's called Choctaw Central. And I would tell them, go and expand and explore and meet new people. Well, again, I'm talking to kids who only heard from what their parents or grandparents might have said, like, well, I had this issue coming into school, so you might have that issue, or they don't know about us, so they're going to be very standoffish. And I would have to tell them, that I understand we're also known as wallflowers because, again, within that area, they are going through different generations. Like one generation is their great grandparents, and it just trickles down the line. So if they came here, didn't have a good time, they're going to tell the next person, and it kind of spread like wildfire a little bit. So what I try to do is like, yes, there were problems within the institution, public institutions, but me being here, I'm able to help resolve it as best as possible. I'm here to navigate you and to tell you like this is what we can do. And if you still need help, like they come to my office, I have a couch. They like to come and just sit and sleep sometimes. Because it's like I said, it's more of like Choctaws find Choctaws and they're very comfortable. That's it kind of gives them that like safety net in some way. So that way, if they're out and about, yes, they'll meet friends, they'll hang out with new people, but eventually sometimes they wound up in my office still because they just want a little bit of home. And that's understandable, even though they may be 30 minutes away. Like I said, a reservation is 30 minutes. So it's just really just that safety, security of having someone who came from the similarities of the background. My reservation is 30 minutes from here. I are spread across the state of Mississippi. So you'll have some in Newton County, you'll have some in Neshoba County. We have a little small portion in Henning, Tennessee. So just being able to go out there and kind of tell them like, hey, there are resources not only at East Central, but other institutions. You just kind of have to go and talk to someone, or, with me, I always tell them like I have other, travel students that went off to Itawamba or they're at Pearl River Community College. They may be at Mississippi State and they'll still come and ask me, like, hey, I don't know if they know what I'm talking about when it comes to these program forms. So, like I said, with our travel scholarship, they have to apply, they have to submit forms, and they have to do so much more because they're a third party scholarship program. Same thing with our CTE. So some institutions probably never heard of us. And believe it or not, I still get a lot of people that I meet, whether it's here at East Central or if I go off to different conferences and I tell them I'm a Native American liaison, my name is Autumn. And they're like, oh, Native American. I didn't think y'all still existed here in Mississippi. And even now, I still get that. And like I said, we've been here for a good while. So you'll see a lot of kids kind of go through that as well. And they'll say, okay, this office is not understanding what I'm needing. How can I explain it to them, or can you even talk to them? So trust me, I'm not only working here at East Central, I'll possibly pick up the phone and talk to their parent, or I'll talk to them, or sometimes I might even have to call the office. It's rarely, but it's just because they know someone is at least within that system that their parents kind of be like, oh, utilize her. She's a great resource. So I try my best to absolutely help them because, like I said, it's just knowing and having the knowledge of our people, especially because we are just like everybody else. Yes, we have this two great programs, and I think that also, comes with pros and cons. And the cons of it is just like not many people and institutions, people change. So in our department, we kind of put someone, hey, you guys are covering nothing but the travel students. This is what it is. And we always tend to have meetings, or at least we try. I'll tell them, hey, how can we fix this? How can we improve it and make it a little bit easier on you? And is there anything that you want us to do, or this is something that we can do for you? So normally within these two programs, we try to have a meeting almost every beginning of the school year. So we'll know like, hey, this is how many kids are coming in this program. This is how many kids are coming in this program. And just know like we're going to need all of these documents because they're getting funded through a third party source. And sometimes, like I said, it works, sometimes it don't. It's just the fact that these students are more than likely going to be your first generation. And so I have a lot of them that I don't know where to start. I don't know what else I need. And again, just being able to tell them, or if they're like, I've had we'll go into story number one. I had a girl, she was here. She was part of what we call middle college. And they come here, they take classes on our campus, but it also counts as credit for them in high school. So she's coming here. She was top student at high school from freshman to junior year. And I would always tell her, like, okay, when you come here, you're starting your educational journey. You're starting your college journey. So what grades you make is what you're going to see on your transcript, and it's going to follow you wherever you go after here. And she understood. She's like, I got this. That's perfectly fine. And I kind of saw myself in her because I was the same way. I was like, yeah, I study, I make good grades. I think I'll be okay. So she gets here and she is on the struggle bus. She is on the struggle bus. She couldn't handle the coursework. She couldn't handle the teachers because she was so scared. Not just because it's, hard and it's a different level. It was just the fact that she saw only herself. She said, I did not see any other Native American students. I did not, like, there were six of them. And for the one class, I put all six together so they can feel comfortable. Then I kind of had to spread them apart because I was like, listen, there sometimes statistically, you'll be the only Native American in that classroom. It's gonna happen. It happened to me. And so she was on the struggle bus. She's telling me she was so scared because she's the only Native American student in most of her classes. Her favorite classes, guess which one it was the one with the rest of them. So she was thriving in that class. And believe it or not, it was trigonometry. So that's what she was taking. And trigonometry is a little hard, but she was thriving. Classes like English and everything else, she was just having a hard time because she was too nervous to make friends. She didn't see someone that looked like her. So it just really just got to her. So when she came, I was like checking in, like, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? She's like, it's just the fact that I'm the only one there. So I had to tell her my experiences. I said, well, when I went to state in 200 plus, I'm the only Native American. I only saw me, unfortunately. So it was something that I had to navigate with. And I really couldn't tell my mom. My mom just stopped and got her associates. She never went to university. So I couldn't tell her or kind of connect with her like how much this was going to be. And more than likely, it was just trying to connect with her, trying to say, okay, well, this is what I'm struggling with. And she's like, well, just go and talk to people. You're very outgoing. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, it's just a different feeling when you don't see someone else. And then when it gets to, like I said, some professors, especially my history course at state, when we have a small section of like, okay, we're gonna talk about Native American history. I was excited. I was like, okay, this is something I know and I'm comfortable with. But it was very short-lived. It was a very small section. It was nothing, and it was just like, okay, well, that was a big letdown, but it's okay. I'm gonna write a great paper on it and kind of just tell them my viewpoints. So I kind of understood where she was coming from. And keep in mind, this is a community college. For me, that experience happened at a university. So that's just one story of where it's really like just having someone that representation matters. It really does. And I never knew how much it was needed, especially for my younger generation. As my sister comes here at East Central, of course, kind of recruited all my siblings to come here after me. But more than likely, it's just because, they saw, okay, your sister went here. Sister knows this. Maybe she can help me. And that's what I did for my brother. He went through our carpentry program. My sister's here her freshman year. And so it's just like, it was almost like a relief for my mom because she was like, well, she has you. You know what to do here. That's perfectly fine. And I'm like, okay, that's great that I can be this asset for my sister. I said, but what about those that are not? I try my absolute best to reach out to everybody, like I said, from being an advisor, but also being a recruiter where I'm probably out of the office the first 3 months of a semester. And I'm out there recruiting, going to different places, different high schools. Then I got to come back and make sure like my students here are okay. Because like I said, it's just something like when they don't see me in my office, they tend to freak out because they need something. And I've always tell them like, hey, I do blast emails. If I'm not in my office, these are contacts. Like I literally have to kind of give them a step-by-step guide because one, they just don't know. They're more comfortable with me and we kind of see that on campus. So if there's any issues going on with a travel student, more than likely my faculty or staff, they'll contact me and they'll be like, hey, can you kind of speak to the student? Like we tried. And then when I go in there and I give them my insight, and they'll be like, okay. And then they'll listen. Only because, like I said, it's just that representation. So would I like more positions like myself in other community colleges and universities? Yes, because I can only stay here. I try my best to help those that go to Jones, Pearl River. I have some in Meridian, Colon, State. I have a lot at State, so they always ask me how my experience was when I went here, and then we always kind of compare and contrast. So they always come back and they're like, I'm so glad, you were here to help me. So when now I'm at state, it's like it's a lot better because I can always still ask you questions. And they do, even though they've left here. So I think just having more positions like mine is very crucial. And I just really hope that more institutions more public institutions can kind of just, like, hey, let's do something. Let's just try to create more of a, safety net for these tribal members because again, you'll have a lot of first generation or you'll just have a lot of elders that probably do want to come back or older adults. And that's what I see as well. I'll see adults that have been here like in 1998, 1999, 2000s, and they were like, I kind of didn't know what I was doing. I was just here and people just put me in classes, people just threw me to the wolves and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to ask the right questions and I didn't know really who to speak to. So I just kept to myself and I didn't do so well. I failed or I dropped out. But then I'm like, okay, well, we're so great. We're coming back. So everything's great. And most likely it's because they're like, oh, it's because you're here. We have someone who is in this system that knows. So I do have a lot of adults that do come back. And it's great. A lot of my mom's friends, they were like asking questions through her to come through me. And I'm just like, yeah, it's great. You want to ever reach out to me, you're welcome to. But it's great to see now that most of our tribal members are wanting their higher education because they feel more comfortable now. And I think that just shows how much representation really does matter. And again, I just hope the other institutions or other universities out there can kind of see like, hey, it is important to at least give a little light to tribal students. And that's just a little story of what my one student. I'm not sure if there's any questions so far. I know that was a lot to process.
Yeah, Autumn, I have a question. So you might have said this earlier, but how long have you had this position, or how long has this position been in existence at East Central?
4 years. So I'm the
4 years.
first one to be in this position. They opened it up in 2022. And a little backstory, I've always never wanted to pursue any field of education. When I was in middle school, high school, I want to go straight into like medical and then shifted to, okay, maybe a science field, then it shifted into communication. They always say the expression never say never. So I was like, education, no. It doesn't matter which area it is. I don't want to be in it. I've done K through 12. I'm about to go into college and do more education. I don't want to stay in education. So I'll admit that was me. Um, but when I graduated from state back in 2020, I'm a COVID grad. So when, left for spring break and didn't go back, unfortunately. So I had to finish it out at home and things that I kind of had lined up kind of fell through due to everything closing and whatnot. So it's like, okay, I have to shift. I have to find something. And it was a little bit difficult, but I eventually was able to find a job as a kindergarten teacher assistant. And I was like, okay, I can handle kindergartners. It's no problem. No, I realized very quickly I cannot handle small children like that. They are adorable. Don't get me wrong. They're cute, they're fun, but trying to tell them 1 + 1 = 2 was, I couldn't handle that. So I stayed there for a good 6 months for one semester. And then luckily went into a communication position that was in my field within my local resort on in the tribe, and was there for a year. My boss, actually, at the time, my supervisor, he had seen the position open. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, he goes, yeah. He was like subtly kind of hinting it to me. Like, the American liaison, that's great. East Central's trying to find someone that child members can go to. I think, yeah, that's great. And I'm sending this to everyone else, everyone I knew, my friends that I knew that would be great in this position, family members, just anyone that who I thought would. And one of my duties was from my supervisor, he was like, I want you to apply. I'm like, what? You don't want me here anymore? Like, am I doing a horrible job? He's like, no, you're doing a fantastic job. He was like, you are very much of a people person. You do things and you can see things that maybe not much can do. And he was just trying to like, he was like, I want this to be part of your duty and I want to see it completed or that I'm gonna write you up. I was like, okay, I've never been written up before. So I was like, all right, fine. So me, I just did it because I didn't want to get written up, submitted it. Then I got a call back saying about an interview. I was like, okay, went into the interview. Like I said, I went in not really thinking anything. I was just like, I'm gonna just walk in, have a conversation because I loved my job in communication. I loved where I was. And as we kind of got to more talking in the interview, I guess it was like a little light bulb turned on, and it was a much of a thrill kind of telling my interviewers like, well, this is what I think is needed for education for travel students. This is what I think, and this and that, and kind of getting to more being like an advocate, which I really love doing is advocacy. So I kind of just, gave my interview, left, and they had called saying I got the job. And I was very shocked because I didn't really think I was going to get it. And I talked to my supervisor. I was like, well, you're going to lose me. Just know that. I hope I get a big party once I leave. And he just saw me more of being this advocate because he knew I could go out there and do something more, just sharing my experience. So he was like, I see you better in this role than anything else. And I had to tell him, I was like, it's in education. I never want to work in education. And he told me, never say never. So then I started there and I'm still here. It's something I really come to love doing and making sure like these students understand like, hey, they are not the only ones that ever went through this. And I want to make sure like they have the best resources, that they don't go through the same experience that I did.
Yeah, I think this is very visionary of the leadership at East Central to say, hey, we need a liaison for our students that are in the populations close to our, community college. And I know obviously many of the Native American travel students live close to East Central, and I heard you mention like going to a conference. So I'm assuming there maybe are Native American liaisons across the country at some other schools. You might be the only one in Mississippi, but would we see that in other colleges across the United States? Do you know?
Well, I would say within Mississippi, I believe I am. With community colleges, there was a conference called Macro. So that's the conference that I had went to, and I had met this individual, and I was just like, "Hi," introducing myself, asking, where they're from. They said the same thing, and they're like, "Native American liaison," didn't realize y'all are still here. But given the fact they come from a city, I believe they were not from Mississippi. I know that. But more than likely, like I said, people kind of change in different positions, so they come from different areas and with Mississippi, with my tribe being the only one here, it's not really promoted as much unless you're very local. And even within that, like I know the northern area, like Tupelo, maybe South Haven, you'll still have a good bit. If I travel up there and they think I'm Hispanic, I'm like, no, I'm actually American. They're like, oh, I didn't think you guys still existed. And like I said, you still get that up until this day. So it's nothing new for me. But it's just fascinating to kind of see like so many people you would think should know, but they don't. Because I'm like, we've been here, we're almost everywhere, basically. So it's great to kind of just kind of tell them about that culture part. I
Yeah.
love being able to tell them, well, this is who we are, this is our culture, and I really, and I invite them. We have a museum, you're welcome to come and see and kind of learn more about our history and can kind of see what we're doing and visit our reservation. I do get a lot of, well, do y'all live in teepees type of questions still. And I'm like, no, we live in homes now. But within that, teepees weren't my ancestors' houses. It was longhouses. So kind of telling them, hey, we're not like like every tribe is different or every nation is different. And it's like I said, that's probably one of the best things I can get out of it. It's like if they don't know, well, I said, well, I'm free to share the information, and they're so fascinated by it. They're like, okay, wow. And I always tell them about our big cultural celebration that happens in July. I mean, it's 4 fun-filled days. You can come, you'll see all the culture, you'll see our traditional game of stickball. I'm not sure if y'all have heard of that, but it's a really fun sport to play. And yeah, I said more than likely that's probably the best way you can get invested into our culture is to come and kind of see who we are. You'll meet our elders, you'll see the young ones dancing and chanting and speaking the language and everything like that. So I always look forward to it. And they always tell me this, so they're like, oh, so the big question comes up with, is there more of you? I'm like, well, and from to my knowledge, I'm the only one in Mississippi. I remember when I first started here, there was a gentleman that was doing a book on public institutions in Mississippi, and he got wind of my position somehow, and I was able to kind of give him some examples and information to where I'll be in his book. I forgot this man's name, but it was good to see like, hey, he wants to kind of share it and tell others. So it's good to see like this position can be something in the future. We're still working on it, but hopefully as we get further into the years, like I said, I hope to see more Native American liaisons. But within the different country, like you got, for an example, Haskell Indian Nations University. It's located in Lawrence, Kansas. And with this university, more than likely tribal students, Native American students of any background, they can get a free education. No tuition. I think all they have to pay for is meals and books. That's it, and possibly a residence hall. But some of these tribal colleges and universities will offer free tuition for tribal students because, like I said, they want to bring them in here so that they can have that security of like, okay, we understand the cultural background you're coming from. We want to share that and show that representation matters. And most of my students, I believe I had two that left here and went to Haskell. So they're up there, they're having a great time. So what they told me, but they're just like, it's so different because here with East Central, even though it's a small 2-year community college, we saw so many people from different backgrounds. And now they're going up there and they're just like, it's funny, it's like one big reservation. All you see is travel students, and we all kind of went through the same thing. And I believe, these TCUs, they may have their own Native American liaison, which is wonderful. But I'm just hoping it'll grow more in the public and possible private institutions.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And as we talked about earlier, the majority of your audience here on this webinar and that will watch it possibly later are going to be educators and counselors here in Mississippi in our school system. So I think you haven't really used this particular word or terminology, but what should educators know about cultural sensitivity or awareness when working with Native American students about this higher education opportunity? I mean, you kind of hit on some of that as you've talked about it, but there is a certain amount of cultural sensitivity that we need to think about and awareness. I mean, you've made us aware of a lot of things today, right? That we need to be aware about. But if you were not a Native American liaison and you weren't in that position, but you were just in the high school and you were not also a previous travel student, what's your best advice on working with Native students or travel students with that cultural sensitivity? How would you kind of go about that? That's kind of a loaded question, but I think that we need to understand that, right? And you've talked about that a lot today, like our culture is different and people don't understand it and they don't think we exist anymore. So how would you kind of address that?
I would address it the same way when I come across other cultures. If I again at state, I saw so many people coming from different countries, and they may have. There was a Homes Diversity Cultural Center, I believe, at state, and you would just go in there. Of course, we had my little student organization there, and then we got to meet everyone else. So I'm someone that would be similar. I'm not part of their culture or their world. So I would have to go and be like, hi, I'm Autumn. And I would just say, have that open mindedness of like, okay, don't really question much about, you know, I guess it's probably going to be more of like, just don't question more about like, okay, so y'all are this, and but what about this? Like, don't try to compare to other cultures. I think that's one thing because, like I said, when I meet new people, they always, they always bring the teepee joke up, or they always say, "So, do y'all really like where lived in teepees or stuff like that?" That's the most common thing I do get. And I'm like, no, but that's not my culture. My culture was longhouses. So other tribes may have lived in teepees, but my tribe didn't. So I think it's just going into like being open-minded that yes, they may come from a specific community, but each of them entails something different and they're very unique. So if you don't understand, like, okay, you're gonna go, you're gonna learn the culture, you don't know nothing about it, just be like, I would always tell them, well, do you mind explaining your culture, your background, and just giving me so it can kind of give you an idea. Because like I said, I understand, we always get compared and contrast, like things that happen on TV, like, they'll see people and they'll think everybody wears headdresses. I'm like, well, my tribe, they probably did, but we have adapted, or some tribes probably didn't. And again, it's just every culture is different. We are in the same group, society group, but we all have different things within us. So I think just going in there and not trying to question if we do this and that because we've seen it through other groups and cultures or even on television. Because, a lot of people like I know my brother when he was here and he was gonna go hunting. They're like, oh, so y'all do the bow and arrows and stuff, like y'all hand make them. I'm like, we don't. He was like, we don't, but we have a blowgun. It's something different. Or we have a rabbit stick, which is handmade. So again, some things may happen in another tribe. It just doesn't happen within our tribe. So I think if you're gonna go and talk to a Native American, it's just to be open-minded that not everyone's going to be the same. We're in the same realm of group, but we also are very different within each other. Like I think there's almost over 500 federally recognized tribes within the country right now, but we all are different. Yes, we may have similar instances when it comes to land and language and cultural preservations. Like we all have one goal that we're going towards, but they speak a different language. Their dances are different. Their traditional clothing are very much different. So if you're gonna go up to anyone that is a travel student, just kind of be like, hi, introduce yourself, but more than likely just don't go into comparing them to someone that you may have seen on television, social media, anything like that. Just have that open mind of like, okay, they're part of this group, but they're not like everyone else. And I think if you seem like really invested into it, and it kind of shows them like, okay, they kind of care about who I am. And, that's all we ask for is just that you hear us. You're not just not listening one ear at the other, like you actually hear what we're saying. And it kind of helps us a little bit more because it's like, okay, if you heard me saying this, then the next time I might need help, or if you see them being very shy, they may have they may be very comfortable talking to you. Like I said, it's just a lot of history has just been passed down throughout our reservation, and they've learned this history. So, and especially with like their great 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 grandparents or their family members experience something, then that's just what they can kind of attach it to. It's like, oh, if I do this, this is all that happens is bad. And that's where I kind of within this job, I have to kind of tell them like, hey, it's not all bad. I understand back then they were probably, I had some another story, an elder told me I was made fun of. They didn't really care that I was Native American. They didn't care about our practices when I said, oh, well, we have to do this and do that. And they thought it wasn't real. I was like, is what's the name of the professor? Because I would gladly go and straighten them out. And they're like, this person. And then I'm like, okay, they're no longer here, which is probably good. But they just said it was just also very hard to kind of tell them. And they really just didn't care for it when they were here. So like I said, it's just one of those things like that will be a con of like, hey, it's no longer like that. And if it is, I'm here, I'm going to advocate for you. But I think that's just the main goal. It's like you're dealing with people who have that type of background or have, especially within our communities, we really are taught to respect our elders and their sayings. So when they tell us something, it's like, okay. But of course, I'm very different. I like to explore my curiosity. It gets the better of me. So I'm just like, well, let me go see. And then it doesn't seem that bad. So again, you meet a travel student, just be very open-minded, and just know that we are human beings too. We're just like everybody else. We do have a culture, and we do not mind sharing it. We don't mind telling you, oh, this is what it is, because that's what we also aim for, is that people know that we still exist. But just don't go in and be like, oh, okay, what you see on TV or social medias, don't compare because we're all different. If that
Right.
makes sense. I know that was a
I,
lot
no,
within that answer.
absolutely. No, absolutely. So I think the bottom line is that um, it, it is great to ask. Tell me a little bit more about your culture. I'm very interested to learn. And I think that maybe that would make that student feel comfortable. Like they really want to know about me. They want to know about my culture, and they kind of acknowledge that my culture is special and unique, and they want to know more about it. So I think that's a great way to approach that. So we appreciate all your insight, and I am just excited for people to know that there are liaisons like you out there, and for our students in Mississippi to hear that there is support if they have Native American students in their high schools. Maybe they didn't know about this position. I didn't know about it. And so we're very excited to learn. Chelsea, did we have any questions on the back end with the Q&A or the chat, or if someone wants to throw something in now for Autumn, they can do so.
Yes, as of right now, no questions. But as Shannon mentioned, you can throw them in the Q&A, and we'll get them to Autumn.
Yeah, we appreciate your time, Autumn, today. And if we see any questions as I'm finishing out kind of the end of our presentation here, we'll throw them your way. So hang tight, and if anything comes in, we'll ask you, okay? But we do appreciate you for all the information today. If you want to, Autumn, put your email if you're comfortable with that in the chat, or Chelsea can do that too, so that if you're comfortable with any of our educators asking you any questions, maybe later that they have a question about.
Absolutely. I went ahead and put my email in the chat, so it's there if y'all have any questions. But again, thank you guys so much for allowing me to come and kind of give an insight about tribal colleges and universities and a little bit more information about what tribal students kind of go through when they do their post-secondary education. And also a little disclaimer, uh, English is my second language, so if I did not make sense throughout this whole thing, I do apologize. My first language is Choctaw, so I kind of had to grow up when I started to learn more English when I was in kindergarten. So I do apologize if I did not make sense English-wise.
No, you did a beautiful job, Autumn. We appreciate you. Well, thanks everyone for being here today. Just kind of some wrap up here. We hope that y'all found this presentation helpful. And we know you did. And we will email you the recording for this webinar in the next couple of days, and we'll also post it on our YouTube channel. So if you had to miss some of it, or you have colleagues that you would like to say, hey, this was great, I'd love for you to go back and watch it, we will post this on our YouTube channel in the next couple of hours. So if you have any follow-up questions, let us know, and you can contact us or Autumn. And just a little bit more wrap up here. Today was the fifth webinar of our Fall Topic Tuesday series. And y'all believe we are almost at Christmas. Stay tuned for our next Topic Tuesday webinar, which is going to be a little bit later than normal in the month, just because we know everyone's getting back from the holidays and whatnot. So our January Topic Tuesday is going to be held on Tuesday, January the 20th. And the topic for that is we will be discussing CTE credentials of value in January. And we will continue this webinar series through the spring semester. If you participate in 5 webinars in the 25-26 school year, you'll have the opportunity to apply for 0.5 CEUs. And if you participated in all 10 of our fall and spring semester webinars, you will have the opportunity to apply for 1 full CEUs. The remaining webinars for the spring semester are listed on the screen and will include such topics as supporting first-generation college students, student basic needs, and several more. These webinars are listed under our educator header on our Get to College website. You go there to educators, then select Topic Tuesday, and then you will see that under the events section. While you're there registering, please check out all the other resources for you and your students listed under the Educator tab. We'll have several more training opportunities for educators in the 26 spring semester, and we hope that you'll register for as many of those as possible. So some of the remaining training sessions that we have from here until the end of 26 or spring of 26, we do have 3 more opportunities virtually for you to join us for our FAFSA 101 training. The next one's coming up next week, Wednesday, December the 10th. That is going to be an afternoon session, a little bit different than our normal morning, from 1 to 3:30. So that registration is on our website. We hope you'll join us for that. Then we're going to have another one on January 22nd and one in February on February 25th. So 3 more opportunities to join us virtually for FAFSA 101 training. And then 2 more opportunities to join us for our FAFSA 201 training. And you may say to me, Shannon, how is FAFSA 201 different from 101? So our FAFSA 201 is a little bit more in depth. FAFSA 101 is going to give you the basics, kind of the basic knowledge that you need to help your students complete a FAFSA. 201 is going to be more scenario based, and it is more of an interactive session. Well, we will discuss kind of challenging scenarios and maybe how you would handle that if you had students completing the FAFSA. So we've done a couple of these so far this semester, and our participants have really seemed to enjoy them and get a lot out of them. So we encourage you to sign up for one of those last 2 FAFSA 201 trainings, one in January and another one in March. All right, so that is all we have for y'all today. We really, really appreciate it. As always, our contact information is here on the screen. You can contact us through our website and through our training email, which is training@get2college.org. And then you can find us, of course, on Instagram or Facebook, or even LinkedIn, which we don't have that up here right now, but we are pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to contact us at any time. We want to wish you all a very happy holiday season and a much needed break. And we look forward to seeing everyone again in January. So everyone have a happy holiday season and get some rest, and we'll see you soon. And thank you very much, Autumn.
Thank you.
See y'all later.